this is the cover of a report I wrote a couple of years ago for San Diego. And I'm showing the cover because it's got a good photo of what I think is part of the future. This is our San Diego Education Center near downtown San Diego. And it was retrofit with a cool roof, a white roof, to drop its electricity consumption in the summer considerably. And then it was covered with thin film, flexible photovoltaics. And most of our schools are now outfitted this way, which is a great program. I mean, it's simple, easy, the power is going right where it's used. It's providing most of the power when it's most needed, which is peak demand time of the day when power is most expensive. And one of the reasons I've become a convert to this is, one, I've had a system for 10 years, but at this point I get it. I know how the utility makes money. I will explain it to you today, hopefully make some of you converts as well. What I see happening is that especially the investor-owned utilities, some of the most innovative energy companies, at least on the West Coast, are the public utilities, which is different in the Midwest and in the West in certain places. They're the innovators. They're the ones that are getting out in front. The investor-owned utilities I see as being somewhat shackled by their business model, which is they get paid for building stuff. The more stuff you build, the more you put in the rate base, and the more that rate base expands, the more value you give to your shareholders. And that model fundamentally hasn't changed yet anywhere. For that reason, in California, we have a lot of tension between the investor-owned utilities and trying to make forward progress on these issues because the business model is not set up for this. And it's really being forced, it's a force feed. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But the plan that I put together, just 1 minute nutshell, is the reason for being for that plan is we had a huge transmission line plan to bring in up to 900 megawatts of Tessara dish Stirling power from the Imperial County, about 100 miles east, into the San Diego load basin and Los Angeles. And that was basically the strategic plan for the next 10 years. And this plan was put together to show that distributed power generation, not just, it's primarily PV, it's adding somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 megawatts of solar panels on rooftops and parking lots, some ground-mounted like the Sun Edison system, but also putting combined heat and power systems into hospitals and schools that provide 24/7 power, much of it natural gas fired, but that recovers all the heat and uses it for some productive purpose. That all of these PV systems were intended or planned with some energy storage, which, especially for a place like this, is critical. You're at the end of a bunch of transmission lines with very little generation. And the reliability issue is important, and energy storage provides you with the reliability backup to assure that if there's an emergency, you've got power. But also, and this is now a major point that I'm making in California, is energy storage in the form of batteries. And I'm not talking about a tremendous cost. On my system, batteries cost 10% of the system cost. We're talking about enough storage to get the job done, but only adding maybe 20% to the cost of the system. But that the owner of that system should get paid for that storage just like it was a gas turbine. That the utility should have a two-way communication with that battery so that if they need more power in the afternoon, they call for it. And they pay the owner of that energy storage, whether it's 2 kilowatts of storage or 10 kilowatts of storage or 10 megawatts of storage. If you're 10 megawatts, you get paid like a 10 megawatt gas turbine. And that's how the gas turbines make their money. They sit idle 8,600 hours a year. They get used 200 hours a year. But ratepayers pay for those turbines around the clock. And that the future is energy storage serving that function. Within the last 2 weeks in California, legislation was introduced by the Attorney General to give us a renewable or an energy storage standard that by 2020, 2.5% of our peak, we must have that much energy storage online. Might be 2030, 5%. Well, 5% in California of peak is a lot. That's 3,000 megawatts of energy storage. And keep in mind that here your average load is maybe 50 or 60 megawatts, and your peak's about 100 in the San Luis Valley. So that's a tremendous amount of storage, and we'll see if that bill passes. In the last couple of months, we've had one, again, fourth bullet, Southern California Public Power Authority signed agreement for 53 megawatts of energy storage last month. In California's public municipal utilities are stepping out front on these smart grid, smart energy, 21st century ideas. And another very interesting thing on a federal level, the last bullet, again in California, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission that basically sets rates for transmission has authorized that energy storage at a utility scale, at the substation level, get paid the same incentivized rates that transmission would get paid. And this is finally the federal energy regulators are catching up to, they're under pressure to come up with a smart grid plan. Smart grid meaning more renewable energy, more flexibility in energy supply and delivery. And so these are fairly landmark developments recently that are opening up energy storage as a much more mainstream possibility than just a off-grid system. I did read, the governor's office did put out a report that in December on renewable energy infrastructure, and I noticed that one of the comments in it was that one day Colorado may be able to have your per capita energy consumption go flat. Meaning it's been going up, 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 up. Someday you may be able to have it go flat. Now that's an interesting statement for me to read because in California we've been flat for 30 years or so because of some pretty forward-thinking requirements for buildings back in the 1970s. And